Good morning, students. Hope you all are healthy and fine. I guess, are you all enjoying Merchant of Venice? I guess no. But whatever I'm explaining, you need to understand that. See, on that day we were studying Act 1, Scene 1, and we did something on that day. So first I am going to tell you all what we have done on that day. Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. We did on that day, Act 1, Scene 1. So Act 1, Scene 1, basically the opening scene gives the exposition, the situation on which the story is based. We are introduced to Antonio the merchant, who gives the title to the drama. Interest is heightened by showing him in a very melancholic mood, in a very sad mood. Antonio was in a very sad mood. Salanio, his friends, give various reasons for his sadness and try to bring him out of it. Bassanio, the closest friend of Antonio, asks for a loan from him in order to present himself as an eligible suitor to Portia, a rich heiress of Belmont. Antonio's ships are still at sea as he has no ready cash with him, but he authorizes Bassanio to use his good name for his credit and get a loan from the money lender. So whatever the lines I have explained you all, first I am going to give you all a small gist of that. Basically in this scene, who enters? Antonio, Salarino and Salanio. We meet Antonio, Salarino and Salanio. Antonio says that he is sad but he does not know the cause of his sadness. Salarino says that Antonio's sadness must be due to his merchant ships being on the sea. Salanio supports Salarino and says that if he had similar ships on the sea, he is telling, if he had similar ships on the sea, Salarino, he would have constantly watched the direction of the wind in order to see whether the wind was favorable to his ships or not. Salarino further adds that he too, while cooling his broth or while watching the running of sand in the hourglass, would have been thinking of the storms and the submarine rocks, which were likely to destroy his ships and scatter all his precious merchandise over the sea. And naturally, he would have been very sad on that account. But Antonio assures both Salarino and Salanio that as his fortunes do not depend upon the ships that he has sent out of sea, or even upon the profits of 1 year, naturally he does not worry about his ships on the sea. Salarino then says that Antonio must have fallen in love with somebody. He must have fallen in love with somebody, and that is why he is sad. But Antonio completely denies the charge because he hates the idea of falling in love. The Salarino says that Antonio is sad because he is not married. He is not happy. Salarino further says that there are two classes of people. One class of people, one who laughs without any cause, while the other class weeps without any cause. So Antonio's sadness must be equally mysterious and strange. So after that only, when Bassanio, Lorenzo, Gratiano enter the scene, Salarino and Salanio disappear, and soon afterwards Lorenzo also leaves the scene, so that Bassanio, Antonio and Gratiano are left on the stage. So Gratiano is telling Antonio must have changed in looks, probably because he thinks too seriously of the world, to which remark Antonio replies he regards the world as a stage upon which he has to play a sad role. Gratiano again says that he wants to play the role of the fool, eating and drinking and looking merry all his life. He does not like to look like an old man in his youth. He says that there are some persons who look usually grave and sad in order to give an impression to the world that they are wisest people on the earth. But they go to speak a syllable, they prove themselves nothing but fools. Gratiano warns Antonio Antonio, not to fall a victim to sadness because it is a dangerous disease. Graciano then leaves the stage. An intimating talk follows between Bassanio and Antonio. And what was the talk? After Graciano has left the stage, Bassanio says to Antonio that Graciano talks a good deal of nonsense, and therefore it is difficult to see how much of sense is there in its talk. Antonio diverts the talk and inquires about the lady. Remember the lady he was talking about? He diverts the talk and inquires about the lady to whom Bassanio wanted to pay a secret visit. Bassanio, instead of disclosing the name of the lady, confesses first of all that he has squandered away all his fortunes. So till here only we did on that day. Now from this page, we have to start today itself. So you need to see the lines, line number 130. You start from 127, everyone. See the line that is spoken by Bassanio. Did you all get it? Yes. So Bassanio is telling now, this not unknown to you, Antonio, how much I have disabled mind state by something showing a more swelling port than my faint means would grant continuance. Nor do I now make moan to be abridged for such a noble rate. But my chief care is to come fairly off from the great depths, where in my time something too prodigal hath left me gauged. To you, Antonio, I owe the most in money and in love. And from your love I have a warranty to unburden all my plots and purposes, how to get clear of all the debts I owe. So in this we have used in the second line the word disabled. Disabled. Disabled means lower in values. Lower in values. Then we have used in the third line the word something. Something, can you all see, means somewhat. Then we have used the word pot. Swelling pot. Grand style of living. Grand style of living. Because he was living like grand style of living. Means limited income. Faint means limited income. Continuance. Allow me to continue. Moan, regret. Moan is regret. Abridged, curtail. Curtail. Where in my time? Past style of living. Prodigal, extravagant. The one who spends money without thinking. Extra. The one who spends. Warranty, permission. Plots, schemes. Clear. How to get clear, get rid of. And debts, the money that you take from somebody. That is all the debts. So here, this now unknown to you, Antonio. You are no doubt. If nothing is hidden from you means nothing is hidden from you, Antonio. You are no doubt. It means nothing is hidden from you. How much I have disabled. How much I have disabled my state by something showing a more swelling part than my fate means would grant continuance. See, basically Bassanio, he is telling that nothing is hidden from you, Antonio. How greatly impaired my fortune is by keeping a somewhat imposing style of living than my limited means would permit. It means like nothing is hidden from you, my way of living, nothing is hidden from you. Nothing is hidden. Because you know the way I am living. You know what kind of man I am and what exactly I am doing. He is he spends money. Bassanio is basically a spendthrift, the one who spends money, too much of money. Young gallant, who lives a life of luxury beyond his means. Beyond his means means it's not in his capacity, but he was living a very extravagant life. He seems to be a reckless adventurer, taking undue advantage sorry, of Antonio's love and generosity. However, very, his behavior is quite natural according to the tradition of Elizabethan age, when young people led an extravagant life on borrowed money, on borrowed money, because he was asking, because he has very little means, but he was spending too much. He has very little means, but he was spending very too much of money. So his lifestyle is very changed, very different. His lifestyle is very different lifestyle he is living right now. So he is telling this, कि nothing is hidden from you, Antonio. How greatly impaired my fortune is by keeping up somewhat imposing style of living then my limited means would permit. Then my faint means, my limited income, and would grant continuance. Nor do I now complain that I have curtailed such an expensive style of living. Nor do I now make moan to be abridged. And now I cannot curtail also, because I am living in that particular thing. I cannot curtail that. I am, because enjoying, you can say. He was enjoying his life because he has a kind of a nature of this. Because Antonio was a very good friend. He was a very good friend. It is because of his profound affection for Bassanio that when he himself has no cash in hand, then too he was listening all kind of things. From such a noble rate, but my chief care is to become fairly off from the great depths, wherein my time something too prodigal hath left me gashed. But now my chief anxiety is how to extricate myself from the heavy depths in which my way of life in the past, somewhat reckless as it was, has left me involved. To you, Antonio, I am indebted most. It means I took too much of money from you, as well as not only money. You advanced me, your love, your affection, but also for your affection and friendship also, and your love. To you, Antonio, I owe the most in money and in love. And from your love I have a warranty. From your love only alone justifies me my disclosing to you, to unburden all my plots and purposes, all disclosing to you my plans and schemes for getting out of my depths. How to get clear, how to get rid of this debt, how that I took from you, how to come out. So you are no doubt aware, it means nothing is hidden from you, Antonio, but greatly impaired my fortune, but greatly impaired my fortune. What? Is by keeping up a somewhat imposing style of living than my limited means would permit. Nor do I now complain that I have curtailed such an expensive style of living. I cannot curtail that also, because I was living in such a style, such a way of living. I cannot leave that also. So he is telling he his style of living is very lavish. He was enjoying. But now my chief anxiety is now to extricate myself from the heavy debt. How I remove all my debt, my past debts that I took it from you, or that I took it from here and there, in which my way of life in the past, somewhat reckless as it was, has left me involved to you, Antonio. I am indebted most, not only for the money, but also with the love, affection that you gave me. So here, Antonio, first of all, he is telling, instead of disclosing the name of the lady confessor, first of all, he has already squandered away all his fortune by giving an extravagant life, which of course he does not regret. But on the other hand, he is grateful to Antonio for having helped him from time to time with money. Because time to time he was helping him with money. Antonio says, I pray you, good Bassanio, let me know it. I pray you means I request you, dear Bassanio, let me know it. And if it is stand as you yourself still do, let me be acquainted with the details of your schemes. whatever you are planning, whatever your schemes are there, within the eye of honor. Within the eye of honor means honorable. Within the eye of honor. Be assured, my purse, my person, my extremest means, life all unlocked to your occasions. As you have always been a man of honor, so in your scheme, so if your scheme is approved by the consideration of all this honorable, I am assuring you, let me assure you that my purse, my person, my personal influence, so called, my personal security, my extremist means, and utmost resources are entirely at your disposal. Are entirely at your disposal. Now, Antonio assures Bassanio that his person, and all his resources are at his disposal of Bassanio. Bassanio, again he is telling, in my school days when I had lost one shaft means arrow, I shot his fellow. Here fellow means another arrow of the self same flight, the self same way. Here the way means the same direction, with more advised watch to find the other path. And by adventuring both, I oft found both. I urged this childhood proof. Proof means try this experience of childhood days. Because what follows is pure innocence. Like when I was small in my school days, he was taking an instance, to cite an instance from my schoolboy days, when I had lost, if I ever happened to lose an arrow, if ever, I shot his fellow. If I ever happened to lose an arrow, I would let fly another of the same force and in the same direction, taking a more deliberate aim. Again, I am doing the same thing with a more deliberate aim. In this way, by risking both the arrows, I often chanced to discover both. I cite this example here because what I am about to say here proceeds from a similar honest intention. Because whatever I am going to tell you over here, that is basically is a pure thing. Bassanio then discloses his schemes and his plans for recovering the money that he has wasted so far. He quotes his school days, experiencing how by flying a second arrow, after the first missing arrow, he found both the arrows. And he says that by the same experiment, he wants to make good the loss of money he has so far suffered. When Antonio wants Bassanio to come out straight with his purpose, it means don't beat about the bush. Antonio says don't do anything. So he is telling, I owe you much, and like a willful youth, I do not deny that I owe you a good deal. Like a self-willed youth. Youth means an extravagant young man, reckless young man, the one who spends too much of money. That which I owe is lost. Owe is lost. Here lost means whatever money you have lent has been wasted. I do not deny that I owe you a good deal. It means I took a too much of amount from you. That which I owe is lost. But if you please to shoot another arrow that self-way, like a self-willed youth as I am, I confess I have wasted all I have received from you. And I am not in a position to pay you back what I owe you. But as you have already advanced to me considerable sums, if you would but make me another advance or loan, I hope, which you did shoot the first I do not doubt, as I will watch the aim or to find both. I hope to repay you the total amount of the loan by exercising a close watch over the expenditure or merely the present loan, and gratefully remain obliged to you for your previous loans, which you did shoot the first I do not doubt, as I will watch the aim or to find both, or to find both. I hope to repay you the total amount of the loan by exercising a close watch over the expenditure or merely the present loan and gratefully remain obliged to you for your previous loans. Now Antonio says, you know me well, and herein spent but time to wind about my love with circumstances. It means don't beat about the bush. Come to the point. You need not waste your time over this roundabout speech, as you know me very well. Surely you do me greater wrong by doubting my intention as to whether I am ready to my best for you than if you had spent all my fortunes. And out of doubt, you do me now more wrong in making cautions to the uttermost than if you had made waste of all that I have. Because all the time you do that. So you need not to waste your time over the roundabout speech. Don't beat about the bush. As you know me very well, surely you do me greater wrong by doubting my intention as to whether I am ready to do my best for you than if you have spent all my fortunes. So here again he is telling, Antonio is telling, when Antonio wants Bassanio to come out straight with the proposal, he confesses that now he is going to confess what is the scheme and all that he is talking about, he is going to tell. And what is he going to tell? That, then do but say to me what I should do. Then please tell me plainly what I should do for you. Then in your knowledge and maybe by me be done. Or what you think I may do to help you. And I am pressed upon unto it. Unto it means determined to fulfill it. I give you my word that I shall do my very best for you. Therefore speak. Therefore let me know your plan. Why exactly do you need the money? What exactly is the plan? Now Bassanio is going to disclose it. What is he going to disclose? Now here only is going to introduction to the heroine. Now he is going to introduce about Portia, the heroine of the play. The heroine of the play he is going to introduce in this to us in the opening scene. Bassanio tells Antonio about his plan to visit Balmont, to woo Portia, to marry Portia. Bassanio describes Portia as a lady richly left, as fair and fairer than the world, and a wondrous virtues. Bassanio eloquently describes her thus. Now what is he going to describe? In Belmont is a lady richly left. Lady richly left here means left with a rich inheritance. Whatever the money that you get from your ancestors, from your parents. So in Balmont, who is there? A lady richly left. She is fair and fairer than that world of wondrous virtues. Sometimes from her eyes, I did receive fair speechless messages. Messages here, honorable tokens of love. Her name is Portia. Nothing undervalued. Nothing undervalued. To Cato's daughter, Brutus Portia. Nor is the wide world ignorant of her worth. For the four winds blow. For the four winds blow. Everywhere what we are talking about, everywhere. For the four winds blow. Every coast, every seashore, renowned suitors, famous lovers. Suitors means the famous lovers. Famous lovers. And sunny locks. Sunny locks here means the golden red hair. So now he is telling, Bassanio is telling, a lady has been left a rich heiress in Balmont. She is beautiful, but the mere word beautiful hardly sums up the virtues of her excellent character. I did receive, in the past I received from her silent messages of love. Her name is Portia, who is not a bit inferior to her namesake, Cato's daughter Portia, wife of Brutus. Her excellence is not unknown to the world, nor in the wild but ignorant of her worth. For the four winds blow in form every coast. Her excellence is not unknown to the world, as from every quarter of the globe they are flocked to her place, famous suitors, seeking her hand in marriage. Hang on her temples. Now he has already disclosed. He has confesses that he is in love with a rich heiress named Portia of Belmont, as she is in love with him, and therefore he wants to win her for his wife. Antonio then tells Bassanio that he has no hard cash in hand. Why he does not have? Because he has already invested. Because he has already invested all. Antonio has he has spent all his things. Hang on her temples, the golden tresses of her hair, so gracefully adorning her temples. Your temples means the sides of the forehead, and the golden red hair color when it comes on her forehead, that gives a gracefully adorning her temples. Like a golden fleece. Here fleece is the golden colored hairs on the skin of ram. May remind one of the golden fleece with Jason, of the classical legends sort. A classical legends sort. So he's talking about all the things. So he is telling, which makes her seat of Belmont, Colchis. You know, Colchis, also known as Colchis, according to the Greek mythology, Colchis was a fabulously wealthy land. It was situated in a country in Asia bordering the Black Sea. And Colchis in the second sacred grove of the god Ares. So, he is telling, hang on her temples like a golden fleece, which makes her seat of Belmont, Colchis strand. Strand here means the shore of the Colchis. And many Jasons means many lovers come in quest of her. The golden tresses of her hair so gracefully adorning her temples may remind one of the golden fleece. Fleece was the golden colored. I told you golden colored hair on the skin of ram. With Jason, classical legend, sought thereby transforming her residence at Belmont into Colchis to many a modern Jasons in the shapes and forms of her suitors. Oh my Antonio, oh my friend Antonio, had I but the means, here means resources, if I had funds enough to furnish me, if I had fun to hold a rival place, to complete in the game of winning Portia, if I had funds enough to furnish me forth as a rival suitor, I have no doubt of winning the hand of the lady in marriage. With one of them, I have a mind presages, foretell. It is there already, I am telling, I was aware. It was already there. I know my future. Me the threat. What was? Success. I will succeed. That I should question less. I should question less my fortune. Oh, my friend Antonio, if I had funds enough to furnish me forth as a rival suitor, I have no doubt of winning the hand of the lady in marriage, for my mind already anticipates success. If I will go there, I will definitely get a success. I will definitely get. Now Antonio is telling, thou knowest that all my fortunes are at sea, You know very well, as you know, all my wealth is now tied up with my, neither have I money nor commodity. Commodity is an article for selling here and there. As you know, Bassanio, he is telling Bassanio, as you know, all my wealth, all my money is now tied up with my ventures at sea. And I have no funds or goods to make up the sum you want immediately, to raise a present sum. Therefore, go forth. Try what my credit can in one is do. But you can borrow on my personal security the amount you need by going around to all the Venetian merchants. Antonio wants Bassanio. He tells Bassanio that he has no hard cash in his hand because he has invested all his money in the merchant ships. And therefore Bassanio should try to secure some loan on Antonio's personal security from any merchant in Venice. He can go, he can take his name and he can get the credit over there. That shall be ragged even to uttermost, to furnish thee to Balmont, fair Portia. Go presently inquire, and so will I. Where money is, and I know, question make, to have it of my trust or for my sake. Let my credit be stained to the utmost to equip you for your trip to Balmont to meet Portia. Uttermost means my financial position as a merchant shall be used best as possible because I am a good merchantess. So you can use my name, you can use my financial position as a merchant, and that will be very helpful to you as best as possible. To furnish thee, to furnish you to Balmont, to fair Portia, to meet Portia, to woo Portia. Go presently, go immediately to Balmont. Inquire, and so will I. Where money is, I no question make. I do not object. I am not going to object for anything. To have it of my trust or for my sake. Please make personal inquiries as to where money can be had. I shall also do the same and have no doubt I shall have it on my credit or for my personal friendship. So here scene 1, Act 1, scene 1 over. Now he is going to Balmont and now scene 2. Now we are going to study Act 1, scene 2. So before starting this scene basically it's telling about the scene opens in Balmont where Portia, the rich, beautiful heiress, resides. She shares with her maid Nerissa her doubts concerning her fortune due to the strange provisions of her father's will. According to the will, she is to be won by the suitors who chooses correctly from among the 3 caskets made up of gold, silver, and lead. Portia ridicules the suitors who have come earlier to try their luck, showing her disapproval. When Nerissa reminds her of Bassanio, she remembers him and has tender thoughts for him. The scene is in prose and deals in indirect explanations and characterization. So scene 2, Act 1, scene 2, I am going to start. And who is over there? Balmont, a room in Portia's house. And who enters? Basically the main heroine, the Portia and Nerissa. Portia, by my troth is my financial position as a merchant, by my faith or upon my honor. Nerissa, my little body is aweary of this great world. Truly, Nerissa, this world seems to press hard on my humble self. I am fed up with it. I am under of this, I am fed up with this. We find Portia and Narissa having an intimate talk between themselves. Portia basically, she is telling that she is sick of the world. Then Narissa says, "You would be sweet, madam. You would be. Dear madam, you might have a reason to be sick of the world. If your miseries were in the same abundance." Abundance means same quantity. If your, dear madam, you might have a reason to be sick of the world if your miseries were in the same abundance. If your miseries had been proportionate to the blessings you enjoy, as your good fortunes are, and yet, for aught I see, they are as sick, the surfeit with too much, as that starve with nothing. It is no mean happiness, therefore, to be seated in the mean. Superfluity, fluty, comes sooner by white hairs, but competency lives longer. So here Narissa is telling, "Dear madam, you might have a reason to be sick of the world. You have miseries. So many things were in the same proportionate to the blessings you enjoy. And yet so far as I see, those who have too much earthly gifts are as world weary as those who have too little to them." It means there are some kind of people, they have too much, then too they keep on crying. But there are some kind of people, those does not have anything, so they are better. So the one who has too much, they become too much, they become old early. And the one who have patience, the one who laughs, the one who has patience, enjoys a good life. So Narissa is telling, I suppose it is no inconsiderable happiness to occupy the middle rank of life. A man who has too much grows old too early, but those who have just what they need enjoy a good life. Narissa says that Portia is sick because she has too much of her fortune. She says that some people are sick because of plenty, while others are sick because of poverty. Because of poverty. Portia says your maximums are quite good. Your maxims means your sentences, your maxims are quite good, well connected, well conceived, well pronounced, well conceived. Narissa, that would be better if well followed. Well, their real value would be brought out only they were acted upon in life. If suppose we follow this in our life, then only that will be good. Otherwise, all is useless. Portia is telling, if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do. What were good to do. Chapels had been churches, and poor men's cottages, princes, palaces. It is a good divine. Chapels is the small churches, and divine is the clergyman. If to do were as easy as to know what were good to do. Knowledge of what is good and putting into practice, different thing. If one were as easy as the other, there would be no more chapels, inferior places of worship, you can say, small church, big church, poor men's cottages or princess places, more chapels, but churches in their stead. No more poor men's hovels, but princess palaces in their place. It is a good divine. It is a good divine. The preacher who practices what he teaches, that follows his own instructions. If suppose I am giving anything, I am saying something, first I should follow that. I can easier teach 20 that were good to be done. I can more easily teach 20 people what to do than be one to practice my teaching. Then be one of the 20 to follow mine own teachings. There are. The brain may devise laws for the blood, theoretical laws of reason, dictated by abstract reasoning. We think that everything is easy, but a hot temper leaps over a cold liquid, are likely to be disregarded by an impulsive nature of man. Like the hair, such a hair is madness the youth, are likely disregarded. Like the hair, impulsive youth knows how to avoid obeying a rule. To skip over the meshes of good counsel the cripple, but reasoning is not in the fashion. Here fashion means not proper. To choose me a husband, oh me, the word choose. I may neither choose whom I would, nor refuse whom I dislike. So is the will of a living daughter's curbed, restricted by the will of a dead father. It is not hard, Narissa, that I cannot choose one, nor refuse none. So theoretical laws of reason, dictated by abstracting reasons, are likely to be disregarded by the impulsive nature of man. Like the hair, impulsive youth. Impulsive means the one who does the work without thinking, knows how to avoid obeying a rule, laid down by cold reason. But this kind of argument will not help me choosing a husband. I can't think of choosing one at all, as I have neither the right nor the freedom to choose or reject one. Because my wishes are fettered by my father's will. And what was the will? That was the three caskets that they are going to tell her later on. Is it not a cruel fate? It is not a cruel fate, Narissa. I have no right either to choose one or to reject one. Because that some people, Portia followed that in her life. Portia says that it is very easy to preach, but very difficult to practice. She says that old people prescribe certain rules to conduct for the youth, but it is very difficult for the young man to follow those rules. This is the main problem. She says further that it is very great irony of her fate that she has no freedom to choosing her husband, because she has no freedom of choosing her husband. So till here I have already told you all. Read it again and again, class. Any doubt? You can write it down somewhere. You can ask it. And you can jot it down. You can write it. Whatever you have the doubts, you can ask. Till then you read it. Read it again and again, because it is quite tough. You need to understand all the things. So listen it very carefully, class. Thank you, class. Stay safe. Stay happy. Bye-bye.